Obviously, this film was an extreme amount of movement. The idea was to have something that was really kind of this remorseless, solid frame going across the landscape. That informed us about the look of the whole film. It's a real-time story, and you're following basically two characters. They're always moving, just about always moving. This is conceived as a single shot in real time. A couple of people have said about the film, wouldn't it have been just the same if there'd been some cuts? But that wouldn't have had the effect that Sam was after.
We really took a lot of trouble to make sure that it wasn't a gimmick, that the story was served.
For me, it feels like you forget about the technique, but because it's there, you are totally in it. There's no way the audience is let off the hook. It's almost claustrophobic. They're not allowed to look away.
You're just with them, and they don't stop.
Yeah, so that's what I feel about is immersive about it. Sam and I really were thinking about it like, where would we ideally want to put the camera? As you would normally on any film, and say, well, at this moment I need to see their faces. This moment I need to see what they're seeing. I want to push in. I want to be wide and see them little figures. Sam rehearsed all the scenes with the actors. Then we would discuss, okay, this is their blocking. How do we want to cover that? Once we'd figured and laid down that, in a lot of detail actually, James was like, let's look into how we can move the camera. What techniques do we want to explore? You know, so then we spent a couple of months, didn't we, really?
Testing.
We went through every possibility, you know, before we settled on 4 basic rigs, you know. The actors were great because they always wanted to do every rehearsal. Even when we were just technically testing rigs, they would want to come and do the scene for us, you know. So by the time we actually came to shoot, the shot was so laid out, it was like second nature. We were happy, obviously, when we got the first prototype because, you know, everybody needed to put it into the workflow.
Yeah.
And we got 2 quite early on. I was getting so neurotic about, you know, we've got this camera, I didn't want somebody to drop it, you know. So we kept it in a box quite a lot, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because we realized there weren't that many, you know. We couldn't just order up another one if we dropped one or something went wrong.
And we needed 2 because we were building 2 rigs. You have so little cloud that you have to go one after another after another. You can't wait and build up another rig.
I love that, the Alexa, the sensor, the color sensitivity.
We did do some tests on the Mini. On the same day, we had done some on the Mini LF. So we were looking at the results side by side, and there's something about the Mini LF.
You get higher resolution, which is what Sam initially wanted, but I wanted a shallower depth of field, and I wanted the feeling of a slightly, in normal terms, of a slightly longer lens like the 40. I didn't want that sort of distortion on the face that you get with a wider lens. For me, that was a choice of the LF. I'd say 99% shot on a 40mm signature prime, but there was a couple of shots on...
Yeah, on the 35 and the 47.
Yeah, in the river, we shot some of it on a 47 because I wanted to lose the background a bit more. And in the German basement, we used a 35 because I wanted the feeling of the tunnel a bit more. The other big bonus for me was the LF. I could rate it at 1600 without...
Yes, you love that.
Well, I did because there's all the night scenes and the interiors. There's quite a lot of footage at night and in those little bunkers. I really needed that speed so I could give Andy a little bit of depth. The first bunker, it's lit by these oil lamps. Well, the oil lamps are dummied with electric bulbs. But they're 500-watt bulbs dimmed down. I would have been shooting wide open if I'd been at 800. The night scenes in the interiors, I wanted to shoot around, I guess, around 2.4. And then the day exteriors, I wanted to shoot 3.5 to 4, but sometimes I was shooting at 5.6 probably. When I had time, I would kind of end the exteriors down to shoot around 4. But there are times I didn't have the time. The light would change, the cloud would shift, and sometimes I'd just shoot and it was a bit deeper stop than I wanted, really. We usually had an interior ND on, like a 6 or something, and then we would put something on the front as well, so that would give us the flexibility of change as the light changed. There was no color shift at all. So it was a real bonus. You know, with a regular old-style ND, your image would be green and really ugly.
I jumped into the Trinity having some experience with the traditional Steadicam and the stabilized remote heads, all the handheld gimbals when they came into the market. And once I saw the Trinity, it was the perfect transition, really. What's unique with the Trinity, it's like the hybrid design of the rig, where it builds on the fluidity the traditional Steadicam will give you, and you combine that with the precision of a remote head. This combination is pretty amazing. I mean, the placement of the camera used to be restricted with traditional systems. Now with the Trinity, it really allows the operator to really explore the whole space around you. It's not only about the booming range per se, but you are able to push forward and then utilize the whole space around you. And that translates really to just more versatility in terms of what shots you can offer.
Sometimes we would go, the Trinity would work better there, and replace it.
The stabilized nature of the rig, that's where it mimics dolly, or it can carry on a dolly shot. The camera is always floating.
It's that feeling that you're on a dolly. That's what seems so impressive to me about it. The takes were mainly set around the performance, so they had to be very long, simply because you didn't want to break the performance, and there was no you could put a fake cut. The pressure built as you got towards the end of a shot, and if you knew it was good, if it felt good up to like the 6th minute, then it was like, oh no, it's just get the 7th, now I've got to make this move or this move to finish, and it's got to be on the button because it's either got to match what we've shot or it's got to be ready to match what we're going to shoot,
Yeah, and then, of course, there's the pressure of the fact that we've got this cloud now, but if we don't get this take and we go back to do it again, we might have sun. So it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
We couldn't have asked for anything more than what we got from Ari Rental.
Yeah, the testing time we had. I mean, we were there months, and everybody was so helpful and great. And they probably wonder what the hell we were doing, actually. There's not a single shot in the film we could have done with a bigger camera. True. It's very robust, but also at the same time, delicate, stabilized system wouldn't operate with a heavy camera. Even some of the wire shots, where, you could have used a Panaflex or whatever, but the camera starts being handheld, so then it's put on the wire. Yeah. So, it's all like state-of-the-art gimbal work and camera rigs, but it's also some CGI state-of-the-art as well.
Running down the frontline trench, that was just a particularly difficult one to do. On one side of the trench, it started on a crane arm, dipped into the trench, came up, was taken off, put onto another crane while the actor came up, stood for a moment, and then everybody ran together. So it was just an amazing shot to be able to take, and we certainly couldn't have done it with a big camera, that's for sure.
Yeah. This sort of film probably couldn't have been made a few years ago. Here we are, very thankful for this camera. Thank you very much. Certainly served our purpose very well.